live from the heart of all things family. Welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. Come on in, sit down. Let's talk about your relationships with your kids, your spouse, your relatives. Nobody's off limits. We talk about everybody and everything. I'm Dr. Claudia McCulloch, your host, answering your questions, America. You can give me a call at 833-400-5050, 833-400-5050. You can also go on drclaudia.net, that's drclaudia.net, and click on the Ask Me button and zip a question over to me. So Valentine's Day, I gave you lots and lots of warning that it was coming. I hope you were prepared. I was in Ralph's getting producer Mike a sandwich, and the flower stand was mobbed with men. They were grabbing up balloons. And oh my gosh. On Wednesday, it was really hysterical. The candy aisle was completely mobbed with men, and I did a drive-by there just so I could report to you that despite everybody knowing what date it is, you men just still have some difficulty with planning. I think it's the fear factor. I think that you can't operate unless you've got your adrenaline flowing. So anyway, was love in the air for you? I hope so. Did you learn anything that next year you might change or would make the whole event more meaningful and satisfying? Oh, anyway, the Hubs and I took a box of chocolates to our local fire station because they did such a great job of keeping us all safe, especially those of us close to the Skirball and the Creek fires, which if things had gone a little differently, they would have met, and we would have been right in the middle of that. We were smart. We left. Producer Mike didn't, but okay. And we wanted to be two less people that the first responders had to worry about. Anyway, here we are. I'm introducing something on my website that is important to me, and it's a series called The Art of Love. And we get in these relationships and we get really desensitized to one another and our needs. And we kind of forget our manners and we forget our intentions, and we really do forget to love each other. So every now and then, it'll just pop up. And it's a series called The Art of Love. And the first one I wrote about was the apology. Because when you look at how relationships get on a very slippery slope of resentment and nitpicking and chronic skirmishes, some of that goes back to the fact that we ignore apologizing to people that we're married to or in long-term relationships with. And maybe that's because we feel like there's some ownership going on and they're not going to leave. Guess what? They do, to the tune of about 50% of marriages. So I'm putting this up because love is really important, and we need to pay attention to it, and we need to think of it as a garden or kids or pets or anything else that we really take care of. Your car. It feels to me like more people take care of their cars in a more mindful and purposeful way than they do their relationships. Speaking of relationships, they usually start with some kind of meeting. Maybe it's a chance meeting. And then there is the first date, something that's scheduled. And I saw a book on my shelf, and it almost started to glow. It says, you need to talk to people about me. And it's called Red Flags: How to Spot Frenemies, Underminers, and Ruthless People. And it's written by Wendy Patrick, who's a JD PhD. So she's a doctor lawyer. Ta-da! And I'm going to put this in my show notes because it's really important for us women to understand and correctly interpret some of the behaviors we see from men when we're having our first date. And we women, we tend and befriend. We're kind to people. We are working hard to create a group of people who will take care of us if we get hurt because we're not strong enough to defend ourselves. So we need to tend to other people and befriend other people so that we have a group of folks who will look out for us. And by the fact that we're very pro-social. We like to make friends. We like to be nice. This is why serial killers and serial predators, they know we're easy pickings because, like Ted Bundy put that fake cast on his arm because he knew that women would want to help. And then they end up, in his Volkswagen and then subsequently, in a forest on the floor somewhere. So we women, when we approach men and approach people in general, we have different assumptions about the nature of our relationship and how we're all going to behave together. And whereas a lot of people are very strong judges of character, on the job, they hire people, they make good decisions. But when they get into romantic relationships, they're a hot mess. They don't apply anything they know. And then they end up getting into real situations. We fall for narcissistic people and sometimes dangerous people. Now, I want to tell you about how you can determine if you are on a date with a person who fits the behavioral profile of someone who is on the dark triad. Now, the dark triad is those folks who show narcissistic tendencies. They're all that and a rubber made of chips. Oh, Mike's looking at me like people aren't going to know what that is, Dr. Claudia. In my family, it's if you are really narcissistic and you're a braggart, you're more than a bag of chips. You're a rubber made of chips. Anyway, they talk about themselves constantly and grandiosity. And then the second characteristic you're going to be seeing is Machiavellianism. And that comes from a character from history, Machiavelli, who was known for being shrewd and manipulative and cold and calculating. And there we are, psychopathy. People who are callous, they don't have empathy. And so the 6 things to look for on a date would include, and I got this list from that book called Red Flags, and check for it on the show notes. So if you have a date who's extremely protective, that may morph into possessiveness. If someone is very comforting to you, that may morph into controlling behavior. If they're assertive, that may become aggression. If they're passionate, that behavior may morph into violence. Number 5, if they're direct, they tell the waitstaff, take this steak back. It's not properly cooked. That is really rude. There are ways of negotiating those kinds of things. If they're confident, they really may be condescending towards you. So educate yourselves about the kinds of behaviors that people are wearing as a mask to disguise who they truly are. Now, unfortunately, some folks can keep this up for a good long while, and when you end up marrying them, this stuff comes out and it's really ugly. You have got to get out of those relationships. It will never change. We see women being stalked and killed, and their lives are made miserable by men. Men, don't get me wrong, there are women who do these kinds of things, and they usually have borderline personality disorder. And before our son went to college and before any of my male clients went to college, I gave them the down and dirty on borderline personality disorder and to avoid that kind of drama if they possibly could. So the bottom line is that we do wear masks in order to get what we want. And it's called display behavior. It's what I want you to think about me. And once you get past those initial stages and you get into intimacy, that mask gets ripped off and, the big bad wolf is there. That's kind of giving wolves a bad rap, don't you think? Okay, when we come back, we're going to get to some of your questions, maybe 1 or 2 that have come over the Ask Me at drclaudia.net. People have some very good questions. You guys want to know stuff. Hang tight. We'll be right back. The Dr. Claudia Show.
Dr. Claudia wants to hear from you. Ask your question. 833-400-5050. That's 833-400-5050. Or go online at drclaudia.net and click on the Ask Me button.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-616-2130. That's 800-616-2130. 800-616-2130.
Do you need a car? Been shopping only to be turned down because of bad credit, low credit, no credit, bankruptcy, or divorce? Guess what? Today's your lucky day, because now you can buy a car, truck, or SUV, just about any vehicle. It's true. Bad credit doesn't matter. No credit doesn't matter. Bankruptcy or divorce, it just doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, your job is your ticket to your new vehicle. We're Auto Credit Express, and we've helped thousands of people just like you. Antonio H. told us, great company, got me connected, and the day I went in, I drove off in the car I wanted. 100% worth your time. Need a car? Get started now and drive off as early as today. Just go to 2ignoremyscore.com right now. That's www.2ignoremyscore.com. Auto financing the easy way. 2ignoremyscore.com. Get started today. Auto financing the easy way.
Live from the heart of all things family, welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. Here's Dr. Claudia.
So when we left, I promised to take a call that came over the Ask Me button at drclaudia.net. Remember, you can call us at 833-400-5050. That's 833-400-5050. So Leslie writes and says, I've heard you say that spouses as best friends is ridiculous. In case just you put that in quotes. Explain yourself. Wow. Do I raise my hand and promise to tell the truth? My perception of all of this is that the fundamental nature of friendships is different from a marital relationship. I mean, you really understand that your husband or wife is obviously made a good friend because they had those friendship qualities that then blossomed into romantic relationships. So the expectations are different. And when I went down a list about loving someone or being in love with someone, I did find some overlap, but not enough to convince me that my spouse is my best friend. When you look at marriages, they're legally binding contracts with social implications and expectations and commitments. And friendships, I know Sheldon on The Big Bang Theory has a roommate agreement, but there isn't such a thing with friends. It's very subtle, unspoken agreements. And as you get to know the person better, you clarify them and hopefully everyone abides by them. But friends really do play a special role in your life that spouses cannot play. For example, you're not in love with your best friend. Some of you may be, and you're smiling because you're trying to hide that, but that's on you. Loving someone is a choice. So you choose to love this best friend, but you're in love with your spouse, and that's just not anything you can control. Number two, let's think about loving someone means wanting them to do well. Being in love with them means putting them first. I don't put my closest friend first. And we've been a friendship couple since 1968 or 9. She'll probably call in here and say, it was 69, Claudia, whatever. I'm sure she's got a better recollection of it than I do. It was a very difficult time for me and my family. So I don't put her first. I put my husband first, and the kid comes second. Now, don't misunderstand me. Kids really require a lot of time and attention, but that relationship with our child, we expect them to go off and find love of their own, and then I better have curried this relationship with my spouse because I'm going to be with this person alone again for a very long time. A rabbi once told me that it's more important to love your spouse, this paraphrasing, than to love your child because of that whole idea of, they spread those little wings and they're gone, and they're supposed to be. You give them the love that they need to have in order to be who they need to be so they can get out there. Loving someone is fleeting. Yes, you can have lots of friends cycle through your life, but when you are really in love, that hopefully is a forever thing. I do not need my friend to be around me all the time. In fact, I haven't seen her in probably 7 or 8 years. Pick up the phone, and it's just where we left off. So when you think about being in love versus loving someone, I really need the people who I'm in love with to be around me. The other folks, I can touch base with them now and again, but the intimacy of that relationship, of that marital relationship, is very different. Let's see, what else did I find here that I thought? Friends are about partnerships. Marriage is about partnership. This article I was reading said that loving someone is more about ownership than partnership. I don't really think that's really true unless you're in a relationship with somebody who does all that ownership type of thing, and you need to get away from them now, just now, because they're going to have those behaviors that I warned you about a few moments ago with that dark triad, and with those behaviors that are a mask. pull that mask off and you've got this control freak who tells you what you can eat and who you can see and all those kinds of things. There's a whole idea that loving someone is an uphill battle, but being in love is effortless. I don't subscribe to any of that. There's a balance. As you grow and evolve together as friends and as spouses and in a marital relationship, it's a constant renegotiation as your needs change, as your perceptions change, as you develop as a human being. It should not all be an uphill battle. If you're skirmishing and battling a lot, you better sit down and think about this relationship. Is it healthy? Has it eroded into something that you don't want it to be? And if it's worth saving, you put the energy toward it. If it's not worth saving, you have to get a friendship divorce or a spousal divorce, and you need to finish it off and walk away and put your love and emotional attention and energies elsewhere. So someone who will bring it back to you and who will enhance your life. That whole thing of you complete me, I don't buy that either. People who love you help you to be the very best you can be. They're rooting for you, supporting for you. Have you been watching the curling? Okay, they push out that granite stone and someone is just, it looks like they're using a Swiffer. Anyway, somebody on Facebook did a deal with that. It was hysterical. They were pushing the something or other. Oh, they pushed a Roomba and the woman was using a Swiffer and she was moving it along. It was hysterical. Anyway, the people who love you should really be that person who's got that little scrubby thing. What is that thing called? Does anybody know? A broom. It's a broom. Yeah. They've got the broom and they're moving everything out of the way so that your life can be smooth. And that's what is a guideline I'd ask you to think about. Hey, you define what you need to have in a relationship, and as you move along, negotiate with the person that you love. So this is the Dr. Claudia Show. We'll be right back.
Dr. Claudia is ready to answer your questions. Call now, 833-400-5050. That's 833-400-5050.
Do you need a car? Been shopping only to be turned down because of bad credit, low credit, no credit, bankruptcy, or divorce? Guess what? Today's your lucky day, because now you can buy a car, truck, or SUV, just about any vehicle. It's true. Bad credit doesn't matter. No credit doesn't matter. Bankruptcy or divorce, it just doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, your job is your ticket to your new vehicle. We're Auto Credit Express, and we've helped thousands of people just like you. Antonio H. told us, great company, got me connected, and the day I went in, I drove off in the car I wanted. 100% worth your time. Need a car? Get started now and drive off as early as today. Just go to 2ignoremyscore.com right now. That's www.2ignoremyscore.com. Auto financing the easy way. 2ignoremyscore.com. Get started today. Auto financing the easy way.
Live from the heart of all things family, welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. Here's Dr. Claudia.
Welcome back to the Dr. Claudia Show. Christina's dancing and I'm cracking up. So I hope you're having as much fun as I am today. Anyway, we are going to go to our caller and see what's going on. So, hey there, Richard. This is welcome to the
Claudia.
Hey, sorry.
How are you?
I'm great, thanks. How about you?
Can't complain.
Okay.
Just have a quick question for you.
Sure.
As I'm an owner of a We Rock the Spectrum Kids gym we're an autism sensory gym.
Oh, wow.
And
Wonderful.
one of the things, thank you, I'm in Northridge, California.
Mm-hmm.
One of our things we see is, do you feel it's easier in today's society to raise a lower functioning child or a higher functioning child?
I think it is, there are a couple of factors here, and I had what ended up devolving into a screaming fit with a school psychologist one year because I said it was harder until age 21 to raise a gifted child than it is to raise a child who at that time we called mild mental retardation. Now we call it intellectual disabilities. Because of the amount of support that's available for people with obvious disabilities and for the expectations of society around them, it is easier to raise a more impaired child to the age of 18 or 21. After that, it's much easier to raise a child with milder versions of whatever condition, because hopefully you have, despite what level of symptoms clusters that you're seeing, you are still really hitting it hard. If you have a child on the autism spectrum, you're hitting the sensory issues hard, and you're hitting the language processing and the social pragmatics issues hard. And you're looking to where you want that child to be when they're 18 and 21, because once they're 18 and 21, they're more out in the world. They have what I call the itches and urges that you have to deal with, the sexual development, because that keeps going on regardless of what disabilities people have. What's your take on it? What have you been seeing? Or did you call because you need to be able to explain to your clients' families about their current stressors?
Well, in our situation, what we feel is, in society, when people see us, when you have a child who's so high functioning and goes into a meltdown in public,
yes,
the perception is you have a spoiled child.
Yes.
You're not raising your child right.
That's right. The expectations.
Yeah, exactly. I suppose where there's a more severe child on the spectrum, those parents get almost like the free pass of, oh, there's something wrong. Let's just back up and not stare and not comment on anything.
Yes, absolutely. And this happens across the board. This happens in airports when you see kids who are overwhelmed with the echoing and the amount of people and the announcements that come on. And this child is on the verge and the child just falls completely apart. And, people are clucking and looking and judging. And they don't understand that children at certain developmental stages cannot handle all of that. They get overwhelmed, and the only way they can express their stress is to what you and I know as parents call discharging tension. I'm just going to cry, and I'm going to fall down, I'm going to roll around. And that's how they get rid of their distress. But I do believe that it is more difficult to raise a child with milder representations or displays of their disabilities when they're younger. People just don't understand.
Yeah, and that's where we're going. But on the topic of what you said about traveling.
Yes.
There's a program, I don't know if you're aware, but TSA Cares is a program for kids that are on the spectrum or some sort of disability. Mm-hmm. They come and get you directly at the gate and walk you through security, so you avoid a lot of what could cause a potential meltdown.
I had no idea. I will put that up as a resource, and I will investigate it, and I will promote it. That's really important. You know how when we were traveling with our child when he was younger, we got to board first. and got him settled, along with the first-class people, which we never were. We're first-class people, but not on a plane.
I totally understand that.
Let me put that right out there right now.
Right, but I mean, TSA, they walked us directly through everything, and we flew out in the middle of a lightning storm, so the entire airport was shut down.
Oh.
And this lady stayed with us until virtually it was time to get on the plane.
You could be an honorary McCulloch, because this is how we do life. It's got to have the lightning and the drama. Yeah. Ooh, boy.
Yeah. So, but yeah, TSA Cares, they treated us so great, and it was just, they requested you call a few days before, or they even at the airport.
I will check that out.
You can request a TSA person.
But you don't get that kind of pass when you're at Target or you're in the grocery store. And unless you're wearing some kind of T-shirt that shows that you're in support of autism, situations, people aren't going to know. So how do you handle that? Do you look at the person and say, my son has sensory issues and he melts down and this is what it looks like? And you know what?
Sometimes I do. I mean, I have the puzzle pieces tattooed on my arm for the world to see, because I will never hide my son's diagnosis.
Yes.
I am proud of my child, and even though I've had people in our lives say, hide it, don't get him diagnosed, why would you tell people?
Right.
Nope, I believe that the more I can teach people out that it's a sensory issue, that noise, set them off.
It
helps people. Even if I get the dirty looks, I have no problem giving them right back, because my child is the most important thing to me.
Exactly. And so you clearly understand, Richard, that you are not only your son's father and you are his protector, which all of us parents should be, but unlike many other parents, you have the role of being a teacher. You let them know that this is the reason we call this a spectrum, because the kid who hits at this little point here and the kid who hits at this point right next to him has a tremendous variation in their sensitivities, in their tolerance, in their frustrations, in their language skills, in their ability to self-regulate. And people don't understand that your child, just like every other child, attunes to you and rents your emotional stability, so that if you were to melt down along with him, it would be, a social catastrophe. But we're just going to have to let the haters hate and not understand. And I have helped to, just as a mother, not as a professional, helped kids who are, having the meltdown in the grocery cart. And, I walk by and I start singing, and the kid is looking at this crazy woman who doesn't even know me, and she's doing the itsy bitsy spider. But that's just enough to distract, to keep the escalation from escalating. And then I start laughing, and they might start crying again, but it is definitely not at the level. So people out there, what Richard and I are saying to you is, you don't know what hidden disabilities a child has that could make them melt down. And yes, this child could be spoiled, and parents are doing their best, hopefully, to socialize them. Oh, Richard, we've seen those kids in the grocery store. We know the ones who are spoiled. They have such an entitlement presentation about them, unlike the little ones who just go from 0 to 60, and they have possibly undiagnosed or maybe even diagnosed and treated ADHD or autism or bipolar that has yet to be seen. And they do struggle. Maybe they have language processing problems or seizure disorders. Kids have come into my practice, and I have watched them seizing, even though they're under the care of a neurologist who says everything is just fine. And the EEG is showing that, Dr. Claudia is right, because, they're having seizures. So it's wonderful that you called and let us know about your facility. And that is the Autism Sensory Gym. We rock the spectrum in Northridge. I'm going to have to check that out and see what kind of resources are available, because sensory issues, meaning that it's too loud, too tight, too bright for anybody to tolerate, and kids in particular can't handle it, and they come apart. So just understand that when you see kids acting like this in a public situation. When we come back, we're going to take an Ask Me question. So fun. See you in a few.
Dr. Claudia wants to hear from you. Ask your question. 833 400 5050. That's 833 400 5050. Or go online at drclaudia.net and click on the Ask Me button.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-616-2130. That's 800-616-2130. 800-616-2130.
Live from the heart of all things family, welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. Here's Dr. Claudia.
And welcome back to the Dr. Claudia Show. Remember, you can give us a call at 833-400-5050, 833-400-5050. We're on Facebook at Dr. Claudia McCulloch, MCCULLOCH. Cha-cha-cha. That's never going to get old. So, we find that a lot of people send us questions in the middle of the night, but I know you're up now, so you can call and get your questions answered. But I do want to answer a question from Donna, because this is a topic we haven't had yet. And Donna says, my mom is 72 and has been widowed for 8 years. She's now dating and talking about sex. I wish the camera could be turned on you, Mike. Anyway, so she is very concerned because, Donna, you have been looking at some of the statistics from the Centers for Disease Control about sexually transmitted disease. And we're talking serious stuff here: HIV, gonorrhea, syphilis. And it is blossoming in the quote-unquote elderly population. Did you know that when you're 65 and older, you're considered to be elderly? Yeah, I don't think so. Anyway, Donna is saying that she's having difficulty having an open and honest discussion with her mother regarding the potential for her to contract a really deadly disease. So, Donna, good for you, first of all, for introducing the topic. But remember, your mom is your mom. And she was born at the close of World War II, and you weren't. You're probably about 50-ish, so you were born at the cusp of the peace and love hippie movement, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Wow, what a difference in perceptions. So during those post-World War II years, until we got into Vietnam and people decided they weren't going to stand for this stuff anymore and were preaching love, and that morphed into just a different level of awareness of sexuality and being responsible for your sexuality, and kind of ripping the tape off of that and saying, this is how it works. Dr. Ruth Westheimer did a great job of educating us about not being ashamed. And this is natural and it's a gift. And so use it wisely, because it is a very, very, very powerful tool. So your mom was likely to have never had sex education. You did, because of when you were born. And she's likely to be a modest woman and is reluctant to talk about it. But what she doesn't know can kill her. And she does not want to hear this. And even though you are speaking the truth from what you've learned for the centers of from the Centers of Disease Control, she's not going to hear it because it's coming from you. So the increase in chlamydia is up 31%, and syphilis is up 52%. There's been a 20% jump in the overall category of sexually transmitted infections. We're now calling it STIs in the year between 2015 and 2016. Now, there are a couple of issues here that are really dangerous. And I have pledged that when I hit 70, I'm going to get myself a gerontologist, which is a geriatric physician, because just like kids need pediatricians because of the unique needs of that tiny little body, as we age, we need to have a physician who specializes in what these aging bodies need and what should not be going on and how not to treat us. You know, you need to know how to treat us, but you also need to know the things to avoid. One of the things that I'm seeing in researching this topic was that doctors are misdiagnosing the early symptoms of HIV, such as fatigue, weakness, and memory challenges, because these can occur with the changing body and brain. So you've missed this whole opportunity here, these very valuable months until other symptoms, more devastating symptoms kick in. And then, ta-da, you've missed this really important window to get those antivirals on board. So what we're seeing is that the new infections in HIV, listen carefully to this. Those of you who are 50 and over, pay attention. Warning, warning, warning. New infections of HIV are in the group of 50 and over. 50 and over. So you guys with your Viagra and your Cialis, you're getting out there and you're getting randy, and, you girls, you may have missed out on, your sexual exploration, and you guys too. And now you're getting to the end of your life and you're going, I'm not at risk. Well, yes, you are. Midlife divorce rate is high. People who enjoy sex are out there and they want to participate in that kind of intimacy. Grandpas are out there doing the online dating. And once again, you don't see yourselves being exposed. What did I just say about the people who wear masks? They'll rip off that disguise and you'll see this pathological person there. So you're going to have to be very mindful. Donna, my recommendation to you is that you talk with your mom's physician and let the physician know. Now, physicians might not be very willing to discuss sex with a 72-year-old woman. Emphasize that if they can't get the job done, hand it off to a staff member who can do it. Maybe another woman that might be the best fit. I don't know. In that generation, men were seen as being the expert. We're seen as being the expert. So I would recommend that if she's still seeing a gynecologist, that you call the gynecologist and let them know that mom needs a serious talk about the inherent dangers of this kind of thing. Teach her how to protect herself. Talk to her physician. And maybe even talk with her about getting into a practice with a gerontologist who can meet her specific needs. So this is not easy, but the longer we live, there are more unintended consequences. We're living longer and we're more vital and we're interested in connecting with people in that way. So have at it, Donna. I say keep coming up with it, print out the information, and leave it all over so that she can't help herself. New studies indicate that 66 is the best year of life for women to have sex. So, hey, go for it. This is the Dr. Claudia Show.
Dr. Claudia is ready to answer your questions. Call now, 833-400-5050. That's 833-400-5050.
Do you need a car? Been shopping only to be turned down because of bad credit, low credit, no credit, bankruptcy, or divorce? Guess what? Today's your lucky day, because now you can buy a car, truck, or SUV, just about any vehicle. It's true. Bad credit doesn't matter. No credit doesn't matter. Bankruptcy or divorce, it just doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, your job is your ticket to your new vehicle. We're Auto Credit Express, and we've helped thousands of people just like you. Antonio H. told us, great company, got me connected, and the day I went in, I drove off in the car I wanted. 100% worth your time. Need a car? Get started now and drive off as early as today. Just go to 2ignoremyscore.com right now. That's www.2ignoremyscore.com. Auto financing the easy way. 2ignoremyscore.com. Get started today. Auto financing the easy way.
from the heart of all things family, welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. Come on in, sit down. Let's talk about your relationships with your kids, your spouse, your relatives, anybody and everybody. Nobody's off limits. You can give us a call at 833-400-5050, 833-400-5050. We are taking your calls. And if you're shy or it's 3 o'clock in the morning, you can go on drclaudia.net. That's drclaudia.net. Click on the Ask Me button and zip me a question, and I will answer it at some point during the show. You know, we have a Facebook page. It's Dr. Claudia McCulloch, MCCULLOCH. Cha-cha-cha. And I post all kinds of things that I find there that I don't post on my website. You know, you need kind of a combination of both things where you just pick up interesting stuff, fun stuff, silly stuff. Still, I'm addicted to UPS dogs. That's my go-to resource for just fun. It's just fun. I mean, dogs and UPS delivery drivers. It's amazing. Oh, and one of them saved an animal the other day, so it was great. They have all kinds of animals on there. I've seen snakes and ferrets, and it's just great stuff. So do yourself a favor. Go to both. Go to the Facebook page and go to the website, because there's always something to learn, to know, and to enjoy. I like to think of our show as having real help for real life and real families. What I do is I drill down to the things you need to know. You cannot possibly read all of those books. I was talking with a mom I think last week, and she was talking about, can I spoil my 2-month-old and how do I get him to sleep? And I said, don't read any of those books, except for maybe the Ferbering book. That seems to be the one. But you go in Barnes & Noble or some other bookstore and you see all of these books about the 6 secret ways to get your kid to sleep. Listen, people have been around for a long time. If there was a secret way to get my kid to sleep, somebody would have told me. So we're going to answer Ken's question, and he said, I've heard you say to, quote, follow nature's way, unquote, and the wisdom of nature. I have a problem with people who are gay, and definitely with gay marriage. How does that follow nature's way? I have this sense of Ken sitting there just waiting for me not to have an answer. But Ken, Dr. Claudia has an answer for you. And it goes like this. Male dolphins, elk, turtles, raccoons, penguins, ants, wolves, orca, fish of all kinds, including salmon, owls, bats, snakes, bison, monkeys, bears, tigers, giraffes, horses, hyenas, and many, 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 many more species engage in homosexual activities and behavior, and it's been documented and recorded. And just for you, Ken, I am going to put up a link to a video that shows you so many of the animals that we have documented at this point engaging in homosexual behavior. Now, here's the deal. Nature, Mother Nature, the big mother, she has decided she is all-powerful, all-knowing, because she was created by God, right? Mother Nature knows what she's doing, and she has decided that homosexual behavior, same-sex behavior, is an evolutionary variation. It's not a deviation. Now, we can go with the science, or we can go with religion, or we can use the good sense that God gave us and say, hey, it's a blend of both things. I don't have to be offended by it. As long as people aren't destructive, they're not hurting each other, it's none of my business. I'm not gay. I have wonderful gay friends. I have wonderful straight friends. I have ornery, nasty, mean gay friends. And I have ornery, nasty, mean straight friends. People come in all stripes, all colors, all sizes. The variations of how people present on this planet are innumerable because we really can't count everybody. So in our culture, and in many cultures, marriage is a legal social issue. When you get down to Aboriginal tribes, there are contracts between and agreements between people who are married. And so the Bible in our society, we've put this spiritual spin on it. And we say that it's sacred. And I agree with the sacredness of marriage, which is why I recommend that you really work hard on it to make sure that it is as satisfying and meaningful relationship as you can possibly achieve with the person that you chose. But I grew up in the South at a time when it was illegal for blacks and whites to marry. That law, misgeneration or something, misgeneration, I can't remember the name of it. It just occurred to me now. That was repealed in 1967. 1967 in the South. Now, when my parents were married in 1946, my mother, she's Cherokee. She moved to Washington, D.C. and became a typist in the Pentagon. And she dyed her hair brown, which was black. Now, she could not do anything about the 3-stage nose that she had, which I do not have. I have part of it. Actually, our son has part of it. And my brother has the whole thing. And some of my other siblings have variations. But when my father's family found out about my mother's heritage, they didn't speak to him for 5 years because he married a heathen. Now, when you stop to think about how our forefathers who put together the infrastructure of our government sought out the Iroquois peacemaker and said, how did you do this? How did you get these nearly 600 tribes to adopt a law? So it takes people who are not heathens to create the kind of government and peace and collaboration that we would see with most of the tribes at that time. Now, here's some good news, and you probably don't want to hear this, Ken, but there's good news about same-sex marriage. And that is that LGBT kids are not killing themselves as much as they were previously, because gay marriage has given them hope that they will not be stigmatized. 30% of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender kids have attempted suicide at some point in their lives versus 6% for straight kids. So their parasuicidal behavior or suicidal attempts has dropped by 14%. Now, these are kids. They're not really sure what they are in many ways, and they're not certain how to express it because they're still gooey in their overall development as human beings. Can understand that being a gay isn't a choice, and kids shouldn't be dying because they're gay. Now, this is a healthy move, because if we can get kids old enough to have a little perspective on life and have a better sense of who they are, then it's good for society at large. But remember, Ken, nature has determined that homosexuality or same-sex sexuality is not a deviation. It's a variation on evolution and how we're progressing. We're doing it physically. Now we need to do it socially and politically and in our hearts and minds to love the people we love, regardless of who they are. I hope that means something to you, Ken. This is the Dr. Claudia Show, so hang around. We'll be right back.
Dr. Claudia wants to hear from you. Ask your question. 833-400-5050. That's 833-400-5050. Or go online at drclaudia.net and click on the Ask Me button.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-616-2130. That's 800-616-2130. 800-616-2130.
Do you need a car? Been shopping only to be turned down because of bad credit, low credit, no credit, bankruptcy, or divorce? Guess what? Today's your lucky day because now you can buy a car, truck, or SUV, just about any vehicle. It's true. Bad credit doesn't matter. No credit doesn't matter. Bankruptcy or divorce, it just doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, your job is your ticket to your new vehicle. We're Auto Credit Express, and we've helped thousands of people just like you. Antonio H. told us, great company, got me connected, and the day I went in, I drove off in the car I wanted. 100% worth your time. Need a car? Get started now and drive off as early as today. Just go to 2ignoremyscore.com right now. That's www.2ignoremyscore.com. Auto financing the easy way. 2ignoremyscore.com. Get started today. Auto financing the easy way.
Live from the heart of all things family, welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. Here's Dr. Claudia.
Well, it's great to have you back. And as always happens around here, when I start talking, easy for you to say, talking about a topic, people send us questions. And this woman, she wanted to be anonymous, kind of going around these days. She asked if I had diagnosed people with autism as adults, and the answer is yes. I have 3 young men who I diagnosed with autism in their early 20s, high-functioning autism, as Richard was talking about. It would have been called Asperger's previously, but we've abandoned that label because it is a spectrum, and we didn't want to have this one diagnosis out there on its own. And all 3 of these young men had a similar profile in that they were very gifted, and their behaviors were assigned to their high intellect. Oh, he's so smart, he doesn't need friends, and oh, he knows everything there is to know about the stock market or a particular battle in World War II and the dimensions of every ship that has ever sailed the 7 seas. Yeah, well, and I have to tell you, I was really shocked with one young man who came into my office and was actually walking on the balls of his feet, which is something that you see kids with on the autism spectrum who have sensory issues. And all 3 of these young men have gone on to college and are gainfully employed. So there we are. They suffered tremendously from anxiety and subsequently depression growing up, and life wasn't really very satisfying for them. And once they got the diagnosis and could put a description or a word to what they had experienced, there was this sense of relief because you can't fix what you don't know. So there we are. And they were delightful to work with, I have to say. So we got another anonymous, well, actually, she wants to be anonymous. She told me her name, but she has expressed concern about being unmasked. Isn't that an interesting term that we've now blended into our lexicon? She says, I'm considering divorce. I brought my dog into the relationship, and I'm afraid I'll lose him. The dog and my husband are very close. I haven't seen a lawyer yet, and I don't know what the law is regarding pets. What experience do you have with this? I have some experience, but certainly not enough to speak intelligently to the law because I'm not a family lawyer. But what I did find, because I have been asked this question before by a friend, was that the laws, and there is a law, I think it is in Illinois, starting in January, which treats pets more like children in custody cases. Now, this is becoming such a thing, air quotes, that I'm going to put some of the resources, actually one resource that I found that might be helpful to you, anonymous lady, that may either bring you comfort or make you more anxious, because when you start to get into a divorce dynamic, all bets are off. People rip off their masks. They become people you don't even recognize anymore. When you talk about money and time and possessions, people change dramatically. So I asked some family law friends about this in the course of trying to answer this other friend's question. And what they were saying as this is becoming a huge problem and is more present and more of an issue in courts because people are choosing not to have children. They're choosing to have pets. So there's a lot of emotionality around all of this. So in the absence of laws, now Illinois has gotten a jump start on this. They have developed some pretty clear laws about who the animal actually belongs to and who has the strongest relationship with it. There are all kinds of variables, just as you have when you're considering children's living arrangements in a divorce situation. What they are saying is that in the absence of laws, a big factor is if the pet belonged to one of the partners or parties before they were married, because there is precedent about marital estates don't include typically properties that belong to the individual before they entered the marriage. So what is happening now is that prenuptial agreements about pets are including pets, but the courts don't have to honor that because there is no law about pets in divorce situations. So courts are not required to consider a pet's best interest. And but they do, they're human beings. They do put weight on who has primary responsibility, who's at home the most. And judges have used the guidelines for kids to set precedents. There has been something, I know you're going to laugh. I can hear you starting to chuckle already. Petimony. Petimony is like alimony. It's like child support for pets. And that has been awarded. Now, one of the places where this whole thing got started was in Great Britain and in England, because they have a very intense equine culture there. And I mean, wealthy people have been required to build full barns and everything for the pet children that are involved in the divorce. Now, judges have removed pets from dangerous situations. There have been custody agreements and arrangements. You've had share custody, but there's nobody to monitor this. I mean, if there's an issue with a parent coming to pick up a child and it's not their day, you can call the police and they can enforce that, because there is a legal agreement in place that says when and how you are going to pick up this child. There's nothing for the cat or the lizard or whatever you all are fighting over. Now, these pets are regarded as living property, which is a really interesting way to think about a life form. And but Michigan University the law college there has an animal law professor, believe it or not. So check out the show notes. They'll let you know how to find it. We'll be right back.
Dr. Claudia is ready to answer your questions. Call now, 833-400-5050. That's 833-400-5050.
Do you need a car? Been shopping only to be turned down because of bad credit, low credit, no credit, bankruptcy, or divorce? Guess what? Today's your lucky day, because now you can buy a car, truck, or SUV, just about any vehicle. It's true. Bad credit doesn't matter. No credit doesn't matter. Bankruptcy or divorce, it just doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, your job is your ticket to your new vehicle. We're Auto Credit Express, and we've helped thousands of people just like you. Antonio H. told us, great company, got me connected, and the day I went in, I drove off in the car I wanted. 100% worth your time. Need a car? Get started now and drive off as early as today. Just go to 2ignoremyscore.com right now. That's www.2ignoremyscore.com. Auto financing the easy way. 2ignoremyscore.com. Get started today. Auto financing the easy way.
Live from the heart of all things family, welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. Here's Dr. Claudia.
We're back. And we're going to take Shelly's question that came over the Dr. Claudia Ask Me button. And Shelly is saying, my 5-year-old grandson has terrible nightmares. When he stays at our house, he jumps out of bed, runs around the house screaming, sweats, and looks as though he's scared to death. I haven't told my son about this because I'm worried they won't let him stay with us anymore. Oh, that's sad. He runs away when we're trying to help him. Well, this is not a nightmare, Shelly. This is a night terror. And he may be having them at home as well. And mom and dad may not know what to do about it. And they may not have warned you about it. So, you absolutely have to come clean. But I'm going to make you an expert in night terrors and nightmares so that you will know what you're dealing with. This is not unusual. About 1.5 million kids have it. And it usually starts out at the age of 3 to 4. So moms and dads out there, if you have a 3-year-old, 4-year-old, and, they're sleepwalking or they're sleep talking, that's part of the continuum of the night terror, nightmare, sleep activity kind of process. And the kids are not, it's not an awakening problem, it's an arousal problem, because kids with night terrors don't wake up. Kids with nightmares do. And so they usually crawl into your bed or hide under the covers if they've had a nightmare. But if you have a child with a night terror, they are not going to wake up. They don't usually wake up. So nightmares are intense, scary dreams that can come from some kind of event that happened during the day or some kind of fearful content they have floating around in their brains. This time of their lives, many of them are afraid of the dark. They're afraid of monsters. Who knows what they've seen at other kids' homes or what they've heard on the news. Certainly, those horrifying images of that shooting that took place on Wednesday, on Valentine's Day, certainly could give kids nightmares because it's such chaos and such intensity of emotion. But like I said, they usually come and hide in your bed, or they'll cry or something and call you to them. And you can tell this is happening. They're having nightmares if they're really distressed. And when they have REM sleep, rapid eye movement, you can tell they're dreaming. And that's when nightmares happen. Now, night terrors do not happen during REM sleep. So we've all stood over our kids and watched them, and their little eyes are going back and forth. They're dreaming about something. They're looking at some landscape there in their dreams. But night terrors terrify everybody because they are so intense, because they can be so violent, because they can last from several minutes to a half an hour. These kids are terribly exhausted by the time these things are over. It can be every night. It could be every now and then. They yell and scream during their sleep. They can just sit bolt upright in their beds. They can be agitated. They can be running and screaming like this grandma Shelly is talking about. You've got to be very careful with them because they really can't hurt themselves because they are running for their lives. They could have a confused look on their face, a terrifying look, sweating, like she was saying, panting. They are really upset. Now, some of the steps you need to take are the usual common sense kinds of things. Have a comforting bedtime routine. Make note of the time that these things start up. And what you're going to do is do something called anticipation awakening. You're anticipating that your child or grandchild is going to start with this pattern of agitation and sleep terror behavior. And you might just want to talk with them about something, just get them to the point where they're kind of with you, maybe not. That's enough to break the arousal system in their brain. You may want to walk them to the bathroom, if if you ask them, you have to go to the bathroom? Yes, I do. Okay, well, then that's a really good opportunity to get them up and moving and kind of adjust that sleep cycle. Make certain that if you're in a home where there are steps where a child could run and possibly fall down the steps and hurt themselves, clearly a gate with a latch, windows, you may have to put a latch on because they can still problem solve. If they're working hard to get away from something that's terrifying them, they still can have some cognitive ability, some problem solving ability. Now, if they're running around, you set up a perimeter. Maybe you start throwing pillows on the floor to kind of keep them contained. Your goal is to steer them back to bed. Do not try to wake them up. They are deeply involved in this situation, and if you wake them up, the hysteria is going to be worse. So be very careful. One of the things I want you to be aware of is that if your child has 4 behaviors, you may be looking at nighttime seizures. So if you see your child stiffen their body, number 2, bite their tongue, number 3, stop breathing, or number 4, there's jerkiness in their face or legs, you may be looking at nighttime seizures, and you've got to get that child into their doctor tomorrow. So the 4 things you're going to want to look at as possible symptoms of nighttime seizures are stiffening their bodies, biting their tongue, they stop breathing, or there's jerkiness in their face or legs, because that's life-threatening. Now, what causes this stuff? There's a mixture, as usual. There's never just one thing. They could be experiencing stress. They could be severely overtired and never take that kind of gentle landing path to bed. Maybe they're anxious about something. Also, kids who overheat when sleeping are also prone to night terrors. So no footy pajamas. We've seen this factor before in terms of sudden infant death syndrome. Kids who are wrapped too tightly, they have problems dealing with the heat and recognizing the heat. So a cooler room is better for a hot baby. And of course, not wrapping them up in all of those various blankets and everything that we have on the bed, which we should not be having on the bed, incidentally. If your child is sick or is having an allergy problem, snoring may put them into a night terror. So certainly allergies, having inflamed tonsils and adenoids can put them into a night terror situation. And if you see this happening every night, look at the time that you're feeding, because kids who have full bellies have a tendency, their bodies are busy digesting, and that takes a lot of energy and it takes a lot of activity, and they could be picking up signals from their digestive tract that says warning, warning. They could be hearing bowel sounds, or, they could be farting. They could be doing a lot of different kinds of things that suddenly in this deep sleep state, they're misinterpreting as possibly a threat. So there are a lot of things for you to look at here. If your child is too stressed, too tired, too full, too hot, too anxious, is sick or snoring, has inflamed tonsils and adenoids. Now, if this situation does not resolve, then your doctor might look at a referral to a pediatric ear, nose, and throat physician to see if these tonsils are infected, are so large that they're blocking the airway and your child is gasping for breath. So the kids are picking up on something which puts them into this terror state. And, you could probably use a scotch and a shower after one of these terror attacks, because it can really get you going. It's very frightening. And Shelley, make sure you tell your grandson's parents, your son and his wife, about this, because they need to know this stuff. This is the Dr. Claudia Show, and we'll be right back.
Dr. Claudia wants to hear from you. Ask your question. 833-400-5050. That's 833-400-5050. Or go online at drclaudia.net and click on the Ask Me button.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-616-2130. That's 800-616-2130. 800-616-2130.
from the heart of all things family, welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. Here's Dr. Claudia.
I love what Christina had to say. Apparently, we've answered a question, something that was happening to her in her childhood, and she was having nightmares and night terrors and sleepwalking and other things. And she said, oh, this makes perfect sense. I just said to her, if you listen to the Dr. Claudia Show, you can get all the questions about life answered. I love that. So adorable. Yes, she was dancing around the house. I can see it. She was dancing around here earlier today. So I was telling Mike what I was going to be doing for this part of the show. And I said, I'm going to be doing the lightning round. And he said, I'm scared. Anyway, I have 3 topics I want to discuss with you pretty quickly. And they're entertaining. And, well, some of them are entertaining. One of them annoys the daylights out of me. And I will tell you what it is in a moment. Physicians in Britain, they actually are scientists, and they do have a physician working with them. They are creating a medical test similar to an MRI type scanner that will tell you if you're actually in love. And it's going to be available in 10 years by 2028. He's laughing. I'm not even sure you believe in love, but okay. That's a story for another day. It's a painless, non-invasive procedure, and it determines the presence of love chemicals, which are nonapeptides. And nonapeptides are only produced in significant quantities when a person is truly in love. Mike, this machine is going to be ready about the time you're ready. So you can have her brain evaluated to see if she's marrying you for your money or for your love. I tell you. So anyway,
I have money.
You'll have money in the future. Now, it's allegedly able to predict 97 to 99%. But like all, wedding invitations, don't get those going yet because, we got to find the girl first. But I say that this is one of those situations where you do not want to announce the results on the Jumbotron. No, but it really would be interesting. And I'm wondering how many people would sign up for that if they would tell their spouse or their lover that they were actually doing it. What now is happening is that people are starting to wonder if this is going to be a romantic gesture as a novelty, or if it's actually going to become an element of a prenuptial agreement and, all the variations of social implications. You know what we do. We invent stuff, and then we have all these unintended consequences. Now, there's already a scan called DAT scan, that is used to measure dopamine in a live brain, a living person. And that is also a scanner type of thing, and it's non-invasive and painless. But if you have dopamine in your brain, it suggests that the love, this one doctor said that his DAT scan is a love map, and he is deriving his conclusions from the fact that when you're in love, the reward and motivation system, which is fueled by dopamine, is really active. And what these other scientists are saying is, hey, these non-apeptides are made of oxytocin and vasopressin, which are 2 chemicals that you need to bond. So when women are interacting, when mothers are interacting with their babies, there's a lot of oxytocin exchange going on there, and the same with fathers too. So I jumped to, what could be the problem with this? And what would happen if someone was really in love with someone else and one of these tests said that you weren't really? It gave a false negative. So there are ethical issues, and as a psychologist, I would not get near any of this, but fat chance I would anyway. But I remember I told you about that Pheromore dating service in Houston, where they are doing cheek swabs and hooking people up according to their DNA swabs, which basically means that the immune systems are matching. I mean, they're still working on that. That's going to be fun. It's going to be an app too. So get in line for that one. The second topic here, out of my 3 topics, is an article I saw about a stranger in line at a grocery store in Georgia smacked a toddler on his hand and swatted him twice on his behind when he asked his dad for a candy. And the man, who was clearly drunk, said, "This is how we do it in Mexico." And of course, he was immediately arrested. And the dad said, the kid wasn't really nagging and driving him crazy or anything. He just asked. And so the man was charged with simple battery, disorderly conduct, and interfering with a police officer, because when the cops showed up, he resisted arrest. Now, that makes me very nervous, because how did he get there? Is he driving drunk? And is he going to drive away drunk? Oh, my gosh. So what would you do in that situation? I mean, I would want to take him out back and beat the snot out of him. But then again, that's just me. I would not want to escalate the violence, because we don't know how violent this person is going to be. And if he's drunk, he's clearly lacking in judgment. But the child obviously wasn't hurt. But that was shocking. Okay, and number 3 in the lightning round is that some schools are considering banning best friends. My hair caught on fire. And then you have this whiny psychologist going, "Oh, you should just see. I see kids come in all week long who are feeling dreadful because they're excluded, because they're either nobody's best friend or their best friend has moved on." At what point do we help kids develop coping skills about this kind of thing? Adults are micromanaging the interactions of children, and what will this do to a child's social development? You must encourage kids to work with one another, first in the classroom with group projects. Kids who may not have social skills may have academic abilities, which will give them the street cred they need in order to be attractive friendship candidates. I mean, this is starting to sound like arranged marriage. Listen, adults, you have to encourage, not legislate. And what happens to that introverted kid who doesn't want to be anybody's best friend? Would you please focus on things that you can really do something about? And if a child is lacking in social skills, get them the help. Don't treat the entire classroom because 1 or 2 kids are struggling. Help those children. Don't interrupt the social trajectory of all the other kids. These people clearly do not have enough to do. All right, I'm done with that. This is the Dr. Claudia Show. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
The Dr. Claudia Show educates and informs. No therapeutic relationship is established between the listener and Dr. Claudia. No liability will be assumed by Dr. Claudia or this station for any alleged damage. For professional help, please consult a specialist.
Do you need a car? Been shopping only to be turned down because of bad credit, low credit, no credit, bankruptcy, or divorce? Guess what? Today's your lucky day, because now you can buy a car, truck, or SUV, just about any vehicle. It's true. Bad credit doesn't matter. No credit doesn't matter. Bankruptcy or divorce, it just doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, your job is your ticket to your new vehicle. We're Auto Credit Express, and we've helped thousands of people just like you. Antonio H. told us, great company, got me connected, and the